welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where we do have a full Barça news roundup on the way, and there's plenty to discuss today because we're going to have a full injury update on Araujo and also on Pedri today, along with discussion there on Robert Lewandowski, plus a closer look at reported Barça target Gabriel Moscardo, who is a very, very exciting Brazilian talent. It is all on the way for you today. Thank you indeed for joining me, and let's do this. Because if we do, first of all, begin with that update on injuries, and starting here with Araujo, because we did expect that he would be ready to return at some stage quite soon after this international break. We just weren't quite sure how soon that would be, with multiple sources today reporting on his recovery right now, because originally it was thought there that he might be ready to jump straight back into our first match back against Betis next weekend, but it's now believed that Araujo may miss that first game back and also our first Champions League group game, and he may actually return then the following game against Celta Vigo at home on the 23rd of September. So that right now is the date for Araujo. I'm sure if there's any possibility at all that he could come back sooner than that he could be ready in time for those Betis or Antwerp games. You know Araujo, he's going to try, he's going to do everything that he possibly can, but this early in the season, the club don't want to take any risks. But when it comes to Pedri right now, the news isn't that great. And I mean, given the nature of Pedri's injury and given that it is one, of course, that he suffered before, I think we all knew that it was going to take a little bit longer for him to return. With it being said right now, within the club, there is maximum caution being given there to Pedri when it comes to this injury problem. And right now he is expected to miss, apparently, as a result of that, the next 7 games after the international break there, which would include 2 Champions League matches that Pedri would miss. He would miss there the game at home to Antwerp, so potentially there Araujo and Pedri out of that game, and also on paper, one of our most difficult Champions League group games away at Porto, along with 5 other La Liga games too that Pedri may indeed miss. And the aim right now apparently is that Pedri could return on October the 22nd against Athletic Club. That would be ideal, of course, given that in that very short period then we face Athletic, then Shakhtar Donetsk in the group stage, and then it's the Clásico against Real Madrid, all within there, the space of a few days at home. So we really want to be calling upon Pedri, if possible, come those games, but we are still at this stage expecting him to remain on the sidelines for several more weeks. The absence of Pedri, it unfortunately goes on. But speaking, guys, of those very important games to come, that actually brings us right now onto a man who we need to be firing. We are very much reliant there on the goals of Robert Lewandowski. We need him at his absolute best after this international break, and it was interesting to see him yesterday in action for Poland, of course. His nation there, he scored twice against the Faroe Islands, and admittedly, it's not the strongest opposition ever, you know, the most difficult defences that Lewandowski will ever face, but I think right now, 2 goals in a game like that, another 2 under his belt there for Lewandowski, these might be important goals for his confidence, because this is somebody who is so used to scoring there multiple per game. These are goals that he needs right now, and that means, of course, now these 2 goals off the back of his last 2 games for Barça, the winners against Villarreal and Osasuna. He's got 4 goals in his last 3, and hopefully we are just seeing some signs here of a bit of momentum building in Lewandowski's game, which is even more important ahead of the Champions League games to come, because do not forget, guys, that is a competition that Robert Lewandowski absolutely loves. But indeed, guys, what I would like to move on now to talk about is the midfield at Barca. That has been quite a widely debated topic in recent weeks, and what we've heard really over the course of this international break is actually that Barca might still be looking for a bit more, and especially looking at that pivot area. Maybe they're looking to the long term, especially somebody to come in, grow into that role, and ultimately flourish in the years to come, and especially maybe looking ahead to the January transfer window. Now, yesterday we spoke in detail there about Fabrizio Diaz, the 20-year-old Uruguayan defensive midfielder. He is somebody who's on Barca's radar. He is on the potential shortlist of options there for that pivot position, especially when looking ahead to January. But today, we've got to discuss another midfield talent. Today, we have to discuss another South American starlet. Let's talk now about Gabriel Moscardo. Because this right here, guys, is a 17-year-old Brazilian currently playing his football for Corinthians in Brazil. And again, we're talking about a pivot, although he can play right the way across midfield. Such is his vast skill set. Because genuinely, guys, this young man is really that good. He is 6'1" tall. He has quite a slender build, and I actually kind of like the way that he looks there. When you look at him, you wouldn't think that he was such a flashy player. You know, he keeps things very much simple, and I actually think that's what you need in the pivot position. Just look at somebody, for instance, like Sergio Busquets, you know, to look at him as a player in terms of physical attributes, you wouldn't have been overawed. But look at the kind of quality that he had on the ball. And actually with Moscardo, he is a really interesting player there because I think he actually uses his body really well. He's got great anticipation. He reads the game well. He's strong as well. He's powerful in a tackle when he needs to be. And he's very mobile. But it's also there about that technical ability too, because he looks very comfortable, very confident on the ball. There's so many clips of him there, winning balls back, battling for possession. And then once he has it, he is so calm. He's so at home there. In possession, his distribution is so good, he can really pick a pass. And I would say here, somebody who's not even 18 years old, there is so much to like about his game in that position as well. He looks wise beyond his years. And what is interesting about all of this right now is Deco. Because do not forget, guys, Deco is something of an expert when it comes to the Brazilian market. He has a lot of connections out there. He's got a lot of knowledge as well during his time as an agent. And now, of course, he's brought all of that know-how to Barça. He's brought all of that with him, and it is interesting because according to Joaquim Pereira today, this is yet again a very reliable journalist, especially when it comes to Brazilian players. According to him, Deco personally bets on Gabriel Moscardo for the pivot position at Barça. He wants to bring him to the club, providing there is support within Barça to make the deal happen. Now, it should be noted that it has been quite widely reported that Chelsea are also interested in signing young Moscardo, which isn't a huge surprise because it would actually be a shorter list right now as to players who Chelsea are not interested in signing. But we may not have to worry too much about them because apparently the player would jump at the chance. He would absolutely love, you guessed it, to play for Barça. Because apparently initial talks have already taken place there between Barça and the players' camp. The signs right now are very positive. But what I would say on this at the moment is there's not a great deal of reports on what it would cost, what the transfer fee would be for a player of this age, of this talent coming from Brazil. You would expect quite a hefty fee. But the belief right now is that it may be between 20 to 25 million euros, which I would say right now, looking at the early signs, and of course the sample size is not massive, you know, there's still a lot that he has to prove, and certainly seeing him play more and more games would be helpful to gauge just how good he could be. But I think the signs are really good, and this looks like a genuine talent in that pivot area. What he can do in midfield is very impressive, and I am just really interested right now, guys. If you have seen anything at all of Gabriel Moscardo, go and have a look at him now, go and see what he can do. There's plenty of clips out there of him and his quality. What do you make of him? Do you think that he would suit Barça? Would you be happy to go out and pay sort of 20, 25 million euros? Or would you be looking more at Fabrizio Diaz? As we discussed yesterday, somebody a bit older, the ceiling may not be quite as high as the Brazilian, but probably more than half the price. So let's wait and see what Barça can do, maybe in January, maybe beyond, what sort of agreements we can wrap up here. And do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below here on yet another exciting talent that we've spoken about in today's video. I am interested to see what your preference would be, and if you would like to see us go for one of these talented options. I will see you soon, guys, where there will be lots more on the way. I hope you're enjoying the international break and just a bit of quiet right now when it comes to the Barça front. But I will be seeing you all soon, and I thank you indeed for your great support. But until next time, as always, Visca El Barça!